What's happening, all you minties? Uncanny Omar here from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And join me today for your advanced look at the Daredevil Omnibus Volume 2 from Marvel Comics. So let's go ahead and get started. Before getting started, I want to thank the folks at Marvel Comics and David Gabriel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market and book market on May 30th or 31st, depending on where you get your books. What we're looking at here is the standard edition cover, and on the left-hand side is your direct market cover. Both of the covers supplied by the legendary Gerry Conway, an artist I have learned to appreciate, I don't know why, just in about the last 5 years. So let's actually look at the spine together. So it does have the new spine design with a different picture of Daredevil down there. And you have Lee, Thomas, Conway, Colin, and Windsor-Smith. All legends in the comic book industry. And then the back of the omnibus with the ISBN down there, and the retail price being $100. Daredevil's adventures enter a new era of action and social relevance as he swings into the 1970s. So this stuff right here has been available in Marvel Masterworks format, it's been available in Essential format, and in Epic Collection, with all of Brother Take My Hand collected in there, and then some of A Woman Called Widow in there. But for the first time, it's now available in omnibus format, and it does have the new design. Now, we don't have a new printing of Volume 1, and we don't know if Volume 3 will come out. As a matter of fact, people were so skeptical of this one coming out because Daredevil Silver Age just wasn't a hot seller for Marvel, but they decided, hey, let's take a chance. Maybe enough people bought Volume 1 that they'll be interested in a Volume 2. So hopefully there'll be a Volume 3, especially with the 60th anniversary of Daredevil coming out in 2024. There it is, Daredevil the Man Without Fear. I love that they're using that logo underneath the dust jacket. Daredevil, and again, the creators there, the picture, and then Volume 2, and then his sign, the Daredevil sign. Alright, we're going to crack these. It's just one book. We're going to crack this book open and talk about the stories collected in here and looking at this beautiful Gerry Conway artwork together. And let's open this up. We have some black end sheets right here. And then that picture right there, Daredevil, Volume 2. Your table of contents. And your first introduction by Gerry Conway. So one thing you may have noticed as I really quickly pass through here is that there are 3 introductions, and they were originally collected in Marvel Masterworks 5, 6, and Daredevil 7. Meaning that this collects all 3 of those Marvel Masterworks and puts them together in one book. I believe Volume 1, well, yes, by process of elimination, Volume 1 had 4 Marvel Masterworks. So this does collect Daredevil 42 to 74 and the crossover with Iron Man 35. It does have material from 36, so it doesn't have the whole issue of Iron Man, but it does have the crossover part. And we kick it off with this introduction of a new character named the Jester. This book has 800 pages and again retails for $100. So we're looking at about the second 2.5 years of Gerry Conway's run of Daredevil, and has his art style just gotten better and better, and it's about to get even crazier on a different level when he gets a new inker later on, and I'll talk a little bit about that inker in a bit. But here we have the introduction of the Jester. This particular character will play a big role in Daredevil's life for the first 5 issues here of this omnibus. The letter pages all intact. Here is the story with Captain America. And there is an introduction by Gerry Conway from 2008. Gerry Conway, I believe he passed away in 2011, if I'm not mistaken. But it's just a beautiful introduction that he wrote about, reminiscing about the times drawing Daredevil and what it meant to him drawing Captain America. And the man was just an amazing artist. And I talked about how I haven't really acknowledged that until like the last 5 years. So I'm 45 now. And for some reason, in my 20s and 30s, Gene Colan was just an artist that I was like, oh yeah, Gene Colan, that guy from the Silver Age. He drew those issues of Namor, he drew Avengers, and he drew Daredevil. Of course, Tomb of Dracula. But I don't know, it just never struck me how much I really liked his art style until for some reason I started rereading a lot of these old stories through either Epic collections or brand new printings or complete collections, and then, of course, the omnibus format. But there was just something about the layouts and his composition and the angles that he would use that it was a lot different than the artist at the time. A lot different than Jack Kirby. He wasn't playing it safe, and neither was the King, right? Like, the King never played it safe again. All of the letter pages intact. But he did it a different way. It's like, how do I compare it to? I remember an interview with Jackie Chan talking about, people comparing him to someone like Bruce Lee, and Jackie Chan said, yes, we are very similar, but we're so different. When Bruce Lee would punch up, I would make sure to punch down. I would do the opposite of what Bruce Lee was doing, so we did not become one person that people pretty much thought we were the same guy. And I think that's what Gene Colan was doing. He was separating himself from that traditional art style, from the Wally Woods and from Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko during this time. And he was just doing his own thing, and it's just absolutely stunning what he was able to do. So in here, we have the aftermath of the first omnibus, and of course this is after Matt Murdock's brother has been written off, Mike Murdock. And if you don't know anything about that, I know that Chip Zdarsky brought that character back in his run. But long before that, in Volume 1, is where all that Mike Murdock stories started out. You have the introduction of the Jester, but you also have the introduction of another character that plays a big part in Daredevil and his secret identity, and that is Star Saxon. He's pretty much the mastermind that sends this robot after Matt Murdock, and he discovers that Matt Murdock is the Man Without Fear. Now, the whole secret identity thing, and I'm sure you saw the variant or the direct market issue, that's about to implode in Matt's life. So, let me see, this is issue number 50. And Stan Lee is about to leave the book. So Barry Smith, this young guy, never heard of that guy. No, that's Barry Windsor-Smith. Even though his art style is very different during this time. This is when he was doing his Jack Kirby phase. And of course, the inks by Coletta actually probably embellish that. So here he is with George Klein. And issue number 50 has inks by Johnny Craig. And then we have Barry Smith come back with inks by George Klein. Now, this is where Roy Thomas comes in and pretty much resolves a plot from Stan Lee. Now, Roy Thomas, to a lot of people that have been reading Marvel Comics at the time, or to people that have read comics now through reprints of Epics or Masterworks, he was the guy that pretty much took over Marvel Comics writing duties after Stan Lee left the book, whether it was Avengers or whether it was X-Men or Daredevil. He was kind of the first Marvel writer and came in and then eventually became editor. So this is pretty much his entire run. And it's a really cool introduction. He does the third introduction in this book. And this is some more of Barry Windsor-Smith's art style during this particular time. One story I didn't talk about that everybody talks about, and rightly so, and that is the Brother Take My Hand story. That is, remember what the back of the book says right here, as he swings into the 70s, social relevance? That's one of those social relevance books. That's a story right there that everybody talks about. I remember even before reading Daredevil or getting into Daredevil, people would talk about the Brother Take My Hand story. It's the story of a brand new character that actually starts playing a minor role in Daredevil, and then later on stays in Daredevil for a little while. So actually, let's go back to it. It's the story of this gentleman right here, William Lincoln, who had just returned back from Vietnam War, and he's a veteran. So he's being pretty much framed for something, a crime here in the States. And now it's up to not Daredevil, but really Matt Murdock to help him go through that hurdle. And a lot of the story, a lot of the behind the scenes is actually from Gene Colan. It was Gene Colan's idea for a lot of the things that happened there. And like I said, Willie Lincoln is a character that will show up through the pages of Daredevil even after Stan Lee left the book. So here we have another introduction. So this is by Clifford Meth, and this was written in 2011, and this one is really sad to read because he's talking about the importance of Gene Colan and how wonderful of an artist he was, how different of an artist he was as opposed to a lot of the different comic book artists during this time. And he's talking about how one of the things that was happening towards the end of his introduction, he's talking about how Gene Colan went into hospice, and the one complaint he had a phone call from his daughter, and he told his daughter that he liked it there at this hospice building, but there wasn't any room for his drawing table. And that just broke my heart because he cared about creating. I mean, this is a man that was in his mid-50s. In 2011, I believe that is the year he passed away. So when that introduction was written, Gene Colan was still with us. But remember what I said about how his identity was going to implode? Yes, so a lot of people get to find out through these pages about Matt Murdock. And you saw the cover to the direct market, and of course, I'm talking about Karen Page. But she's not the only one. There's other characters that appear through these pages whose world he's about to shake by revealing that he is Matt Murdock. And I remember reading that in epic format, and I thought, man, that was a really cool reveal. Look at that. That's such an awesome pick frame right there. That was a really cool reveal, the way that he did it. And in the introduction by Roy Thomas, he was talking about, yeah, some fans came up to me and said, you know, that was a pretty sexual scene when Matt asked Karen to remove his mask. Now, I didn't think about that when reading it, but after reading that introduction by Roy Thomas, I was like, well, I'll never look at that the same way again. And you're going to see the return of some characters through here, like Gladiator makes a return. And, of course, his supporting cast of Foggy Nelson and Karen Page. Karen ends up leaving and going to Hollywood. And Matt and Daredevil go ahead and follow her. And that takes about 4 issues that he's over in Hollywood for a little while. But he comes back to New York. And there we have the meetup with Black Panther. And that's another one of those social relevance stories that is written in the back. You know, it's interesting because some of those are pretty in your face about it, and others are kind of subtle about the social commentary going on at the time. Yeah, this particular issue right here. We do start seeing Roy Thomas, though, like, start leaving the book. So he is about to leave the book. The issue right here with the Tribune. This one is actually written by, I think, Gary Friedrich wrote this one, issue number 70. But then Roy Thomas steps back in with issue number 71. And then we have a new writer with issue number 72. A very young, not that Roy Thomas wasn't, a very young Gerry Conway. So Gerry Conway was, I think, 17 or 18, just basing it on introductions I've read by him, in interviews I've seen, when he started writing Daredevil. But he wasn't only writing Daredevil, because he also was writing Iron Man. So this is what the crossover is with those Zodiac and the Spy Master and Lady Mask and Daredevil. And of course, Gene Colan just delivering some amazing artwork through these pages. So this is the big crossover that ends this particular book. And it's a 4-issue crossover between Daredevil and Iron Man. And then we have issue 74 back here. So now we have a new team of Gene Colan and Gerry Conway. And I will say Gerry's writing, because I've got that Epic collection, don't judge it based on the first few issues he wrote. It gets better and better as he progresses. And then we get the extras in the back, like this Daniel number 2 cover, which is just a reprint of Daredevil 10 through 11, the house ads here. This, I assume this is a photograph and they scanned it in. I don't think they scanned in the original page, but it's an unused cover pencil art for issue number 43 by Gene Colan. And then you have Gene Colan, Jim Steranko, inks, George Klein. But the man that changed, I think, Gene Colan's art through the pages of Daredevil is this gentleman right here, Sid Shores. And Sid did some artwork too for the covers. But yeah, his inks, I think, just were so perfect for Gene Colan. Here's a Gene Colan page of an unused cover to issue number 67. And then you have the cover art here being done by Mary Severin and Bill Everett. So this went unused, and they decided to use this cover instead. And then this is Gene Colan drawing himself in a portrait in 1970. But yes, the inks of Sid Shores were just top-notch. They were so different, and I think it gave it that painted style that I enjoy about Gene Colan so much. Or at least I've enjoyed in the last 5 years. Sometimes, man, it just takes people a while to get to appreciate a phenomenal artist. All right, let's look at the binding and talk about the paper stock here. So again, you have 800 pages. It is sewn binding. There's what the eye looks like. Not a lot of spread pages then. Basically a lot of splash pages. The paper stock they're using for this one, it's a little bit thicker than some of the most recent ones. It's not as thick as the Captain Marvel, the Kelly Thompson Omnibus, though. So there is some bleed through. Let me show you, especially through light pages. Man, but Gene Colan just loved using dark shadows. Something like this. You could see some of the artwork bleeding through from the opposite page. Maybe a little bit here. I'm trying to find... Okay, here we go. So when you have whites, or when you have light colors, you can see some of the frames come through. And printed at the iMac printer. And this one, I remember when I opened it up, has a strong, like, almost chemical smell to it. Dryer sheets, everybody. Remember that. That's the trick. I'm a guy that collected and bought a lot of used manga, and oh my gosh, some people would sell manga on eBay without telling you that, they smoked. So not only would you get that yellow manga paper, but you got that smoky paper. Dryer sheets and Ziploc bags. You know what? I may make a short about that, how I used to get rid of that smell. Also works on video games. But that's the trick to getting rid of the smell. I'm trying to find more of these pages, and of course, okay, so very light pink pages like this. Did not mean to touch America's ass right there. Or the light yellow right here where you can see the word bubble coming in. But that's it. I mean, I can't really complain about the gutter curve because it doesn't really affect the reading because they have the frames around the picture, so it's not like the art goes into the actual gutter curve. But, yeah. That's it. That, as they say, is that. If you're interested in purchasing this omnibus, don't forget to check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code nearmintcondition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget that CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the content, the page count, and build of this book. Let me know in the comments down below if you plan on picking this up, if you have the Epic Collections, if you have the Masterworks, and if you're hoping for a Volume 3. So, leave all your questions down below and comments down below. Don't forget to smash that like button on the way out. Everyone, stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.